What is up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about the challenge season 36 Double Agents episode 5. So my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and this episode of the challenge, I would say, is by far the best episode this season. I enjoyed it so much. I think this was the first episode where we saw a lot of strategy, especially from some of the rookies in the game, and I was here for it. I really liked this episode.
100%. I think the story arc from episode 4 and episode 5, like, this is the best episode, like you were saying. And yeah, I agree. We saw a lot of people that we haven't really seen on the show before. So, like, wow, episode 5, we're finally seeing some of these people, which is great. And we also saw a lot from, like, Teresa, and I feel like we haven't really seen much from her also. So, getting a more well rounded cast and learning more about people that we haven't really seen on our TV until now.
And I think we also got some more strategy from like the partnerships that we already know. Like we saw Devin and Tori talk about each other, or I guess mostly Devin talk about his relationship with Tori, and then CT and Big T. I feel like we've gotten a lot of them, but we especially got a lot about their partnership with each other this week. And I thought that was really great because since part of the game is the like quote unquote politics with your partner, it makes sense that we should be hearing more than just like people's individual games. So
I agree. So we start off with this episode with the aftermath of the Festive Betrayal, which I was so excited for after last week's episode because we know there is going to be some drama there. So everyone goes back to the house after the last elimination challenge. We see Corey is working out all alone by himself, and so Fessy goes up to him and wants to talk. And I was sort of thinking like, maybe do you want to like wait a night or like wait a night, a couple hours at least, but like you're doing it right after you came back from the elimination. I feel like, that's a little bit close.
I think that sometimes just like in general, people are bad at having other people be mad at them, and they think like, oh, if we talk now, then they'll be less mad at me sooner. And it's like if you go up to someone and talk with them when they're not ready to talk, that actually makes them more mad, not less mad. So yeah, Fessy was kind of bold. I also feel like maybe Fessy didn't understand that like a lot of people were pissed off at him because he kept like seeming kind of confused that people were mad at him, and I'm like, bruh, people told you not to do this. Like,
Yeah,
you
I
shouldn't be
100%
surprised.
agree. I think like he just seemed like confused and it was like, oh, it's like not such a big deal. I'm still friends with Nelson, yada yada. Like, what's everyone's problems? Like, why is everyone so angry? Why are you angry at me, Corey? Because like we're bros, you know? So it did seem that. And I feel like everyone just went over to start watching this fight go down. I was like, okay, yo, if I were in the house, I would go and get my popcorn and just sit there like we saw those people sitting there and ready for the fight. And I think Corey was right with what he was saying. He was just saying, like, Fessy, you're just thinking about yourself. And I feel like we said that last week with Fessy was just thinking about himself. And he just wanted to go into the hall brawl because he wanted to do a physical elimination, no matter like who it hurt or what the costs were.
Yeah, and I think we did kind of hear about that, about how like um Fessy was like, I wanted to go down, and Corey was like, no, you're scared. Every season you're scared to be put in elimination. So I thought it was interesting because it was really obvious that Fessy just wanted to do this because he thought he could win. And so I guess that was yikes. And while this whole thing between Corey and Fessy was going down, I was kind of confused because it seemed like Tori was not getting any of the heat. Tori and Devin weren't. But then Tori got some heat, and I was kind of happy about that just because I think it would have been really easy to just blame Fessy, but Fessy wasn't the only one who like made that decision, I guess. So
Yeah, I think that like being scared to go in was about Josh because then Josh started coming into the fight too. And I was like, of course, Josh is like, this doesn't really have to do with him really. But then he gets into the fight also. Then Tori gets into the fight. And I just think like Fessy's whole argument saying, oh, either Josh would have went home if he went down in there or if Nelson was going home either way. So it's like, I saved you. Like, Josh, why are you mad at me now? Because I was doing you a favor. And I was like, not sending someone into elimination when Josh says he wants to go into elimination. Like, is that really doing him a favor? I don't like that whole argument was sort of weird.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really understand this whole argument because Tori was like, "Oh, I was doing you a favor," but it's like if someone asks you, then like you should trust them when they say what they want to do, I guess. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't
that
know.
was
Everyone who made other people mad, so Tori and Fessy are all sort of like their whole argumentation is a little bit weird.
yeah, I didn't really understand it, but like I was glad that they were pissed off for a reason and it wasn't just like what's 8 times 9 because I feel like the arguments that we've seen so far have all been people arguing about stuff that really isn't that important in the long run. So,
Yeah, this argument made sense because, like obviously people are going to be a little bit heated after the moves that were made last week. But then in the episode, we go and we see the itty bitty small committee. So it's the girl crew of Big T, Gabby, and Amber M and Amber B. And so they were coming together saying that they don't really like Tori and Aneesa because Tori mostly, but Aneesa also are saying that they are small, easy to get their gold skulls from. And I was like, okay, I really like this foursome group. I was like, the strategizing, this is like super fun to watch. I'm here for that foursome.
yeah, I thought it was really cool too just because they were kind of pointing out a flaw, I guess, in the way some people are playing the game. Because it seems like, I think when we watched the challenge last season, we talked about this, about how a lot of rookies don't really seem to get any respect. And I think this season, the rookies were kind of like not having the fact that no one was giving them any respect. And there were enough rookies that they could actually make like an alliance together. And that was super cool because I feel like it's cool that first time players are making a name for themselves because it means that we're more likely to see like new blood in the challenge because there are some people that have been coming back and coming back and coming back. So, yeah, I really like that this group of mostly rookies was trying to make a name for themselves.
I agree. We hear Kyle say in the episode also, like, oh, this season, they're not just normal rookies. And I was like, okay, yes, like, we love to see it. They're not just going with the status quo of being like the first, second, or third boot or being an easy person to just throw into the elimination and get their gold skulls from, which is like Tori and Aneesa's plans because they are vets of the show. So, like, I can see where Tori is coming from. Like, oh, Amber is small. Let's go against her. I want to go against Amber and like have an easy win. But I feel like the problem is, and like where you're rubbing people the wrong way is like saying it to the entire house and like saying it to the rookies' faces. Like if you thought it in your head, or maybe if you just kept it between you and Aneesa or your alliance and no one had loose lips, but like if you're saying it straight up to these other people's faces, like I don't know how you can expect them to just take it, like lay down and die and be like, oh yes, I am weak. Like you would probably expect them to fight back.
Yeah, and I think also one of the things they kind of got into later in the episode, but I think is relevant here, like they're assuming that you shouldn't respect someone until they prove that they should be respected, rather than assuming that you should respect everyone until they prove they shouldn't be respected, which I think is like dumb because you're not going to make any new allies or any new friends if you treat everyone like trash until they are like worthy of you, you know?
Yeah, and I think another thing along those lines, we hear Tori calling Amber M Little Amber, and I was like, oh, that's a little bit bad because it's not like Amber M gave herself that nickname, and it's not like Lil Amber, like a sort of cool nickname, like LIL, like Lil Dicky is like little like that. But like if you're calling someone else to like differentiate the two Ambers, like Little Amber and like Amber B or Big Amber, like that's just sort of bad considering they didn't give themselves that nickname. Like Big T gave herself the nickname, so like you can call her that. But if you're calling someone little just because they're short,
Yeah, and I think it's just disrespectful to make assumptions about, you know, about people. And I think that kind of was something that they talked about in the episode where they were like, you shouldn't just assume that we can't do anything because we're smaller. So
yeah, not everyone can be blessed by height. So maybe Amber M is really good at puzzles or something else. Like, we haven't really seen much of the rookies or like any of the people that aren't getting a lot of screen time. So like, we haven't seen them perform or like what they're good at or what they're not good at. Maybe they're just going based off of like Amber M hasn't won any daily challenges, but also there only have been 4 daily challenges up to this point going into episode 5. So I feel like maybe it's hard to judge. Maybe they were out early or like really far behind in other challenges. So that's where they're like basing their strong versus weak off of. But yeah, I think calling people weak, calling them like short, if like you can't control your height, like, I don't know, like Leo is like smaller for like the pro wrestler, but people aren't calling him like short.
Though I guess they do mention, I feel like every time someone else brings up Jay, they bring up the fact that he's like skinny. And it's like, bruh.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like the guys probably want to go against Jay because he's like skinnier and like less buff. But also, like, we saw Jay last season do well at the 2 and then going into the 3rd challenge that he was put into right at the beginning of the season. And like, he's rock climbing. We saw him perform well in today's daily challenge. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So going along, we have some more strategizing between Big T and CT, and similar to the itty bitty small committee, I love to see this strategizing. Like, this is a match made in heaven. They are so funny together. It seems like CT really enjoys being Big T's partner, especially when we go into the daily challenge. Like, oh my God, their partnership is like goals.
Yeah, I think it's really great because they definitely have different strengths. Like, CT is definitely a more physical player, and Big T is definitely more a social player. And so I think CT like hyped Big T up for the challenge that they had to do together. Big T was able to do like the social management for their strategy to get people out that they wanted to get out. And I think that that's really cool because that's kind of, I feel like, the ideal partnership where they do have complementary skills. So that was really cool. And I think
agree.
also they realized that they have different skills. Like, CT wasn't trying to be all big buff guy and be like, no, I have to make all the decisions. He was like, listen, everyone hates me. Everyone likes her. Might as well let her be in charge.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I thought it was good of CT that he realized, like, oh, everyone voted me in day 1, so it's Big T, I'm going to let you take the lead. And he sort of just stepped back and was like, okay, Big T, I'm going to let you do the socializing, politicking. You tell me what to do. I'm on board. And I think like, that's where we see a good partnership, that they do have those complementary assets and they aren't wanting to like control the other person fully. And I'm glad that like CT is letting Big T like come up with plans and like have skills and have conversations, because I feel like with other partners, maybe they would think like, oh, Big T is also someone who's small and hasn't really like proven herself in challenges. So like, she's like on the weaker side of things.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I don't like about the challenge as like a television show as much as like Survivor is the fact that people seem to assume that your only asset is your physical ability. Whereas in Survivor, people are very likely to also get voted out if they have like a strong social game or are more strategic or whatever. So I feel like I wish that the challenge's strategy would kind of evolve some to include ways of being a threat that isn't just purely physical.
Yeah, so going into the daily challenge, we start off with TJ saying that they are deactivating another agent, just like a bunch of mumbo jumbo like spy words, which like kudos to like the writers that write TJ's lines to say at these things, but also like you just said so many more words than what was needed to be said. That's saying that someone is leaving the game, like deactivating another agent is just mumbo jumbo words. So TJ says that Natalie is no longer clear to continue the game and that she has a personal matter and that needs to leave the game. So then we see Natalie is out.
Yeah, and so obviously at the time of filming, Natalie chose not to share why she was leaving the game, but since then she's come out and said that the reason she left the challenge is because she found out that she was pregnant and she miscarried shortly after coming back home from the show, but she decided to leave the show because she was pregnant, and obviously a very physical challenge is not necessarily something you want to be doing when you're 8 weeks pregnant.
Yeah, and this definitely, like Alyssa and I've seen a lot of like Reddit posts, Facebook posts. There's news articles about everything, and so I think it does bring up the larger conversation about like the challenge, MTV, and like what kind of like pregnancy tests or other kinds of tests that they are doing before the show or like before sending the people out to go compete, kind of thing. And especially like having this season where Liv was also rumored to be pregnant, and last season we had someone, a competitor, was also pregnant, and they made it to the finale of last season. So it just seems a little bit like bad that we've had 3 pregnant women on 2 seasons of challenge going back to back, with all 3 of them not actually knowing that they were pregnant at the time that they were filming the TV show.
Yeah, and Natalie said when she in some of the interviews that she gave that they got tested for COVID like 10 times, but she never once was tested for pregnancy, which I feel like is an oversight. Because apparently she also shared that when she was on Survivor, they tested her for pregnancy like 3 or 4 different times, including one right before they went onto the beach. That way, if it was like too early to tell earlier on when they tested, it would definitely be picked up. So I guess that's one of those things where I feel like production should be able to do something about it, because there is a 2 week window where pregnancies won't show up on a pregnancy test. But if they're already isolating for 2 weeks because of COVID concerns, at the end of that 2 week period, they should be able to tell. So
Yeah, I think just like figuring out a way so that people can make the most informed decisions, because maybe if someone knew that they were pregnant, they wouldn't have gone on the show. But I think it's the fact that like people are going on the show not knowing or not realizing, because like Natalie got tested on the show because she was having a FaceTime call with her sister and they were joking like, "Oh, I haven't had my period yet." And then that's when production was like, red flag, Natalie, you have to take a pregnancy test now because you have a late period. But also, I think, periods can be very irregular. And especially when you are doing physical competitions like this, like a lot of athletes don't have regular periods, or their periods just stop altogether. So I think, just missing your period isn't a like clear tell sign that you are pregnant. So just like, I don't know, that's a larger conversation of things that MTV needs to like discuss.
especially because pregnancy tests aren't exactly expensive. So it's just like you should be able to test for something like that. And I guess it's a different conversation also because there are shows like Big Brother, or I guess The Challenge, where people do hook up. And I'm not sure if you can fault MTV if someone like gets pregnant throughout the course of the show because they're hooking up with someone. But with situations like Natalie's and supposedly Liv's, they were both pregnant going on to the show. And that should have been something that production picked up before they were allowed on. So
Yeah. So, our hearts go out to Natalie, her family, and, we really do think that she would be invited back for another season, because she was the only woman with her or her gold skull going into her leaving the show. So I really do think we'll see Natalie back again. It just really, sad and really sucky that this is something that she has to go through.
yeah, and it's sad in general, but it's especially sad because of like the circumstances, because Natalie was so sure she was going to win. And yeah, basically the whole thing sucks, and it could have been easily avoided. So
Yeah, so Natalie leaves, and then sort of sucks for Corey, because usually when like partners leave in like a partner show, like, or like in a partner themed season, usually means that the partner of the person that left also gets eliminated. So it was sort of like, a brief second of, oh, will Corey get eliminated now, right after he loses his BFF Nelson last night, and then he loses his partner in Natalie today? Will Corey get eliminated? But no, they have a twist, and TJ says that a security breach is happening, and Ashley Millionaire Mitchell comes out of a really big black car. I guess one of those fancy spy cars, and then the background music was Money Grabber when she had her like slow-mo walk down from the rocks, and I was like, oh my god, this is literally the coolest thing ever. And like, she looks so good slow-mo walking, and I was like, yes, work it.
I feel like this kind of bothered me because they brought Ashley back, presumably, so that they could actually have a women's elimination instead of all of the women going home just because of medical reasons. But I feel like that's so unfair to like everyone on the show, especially Tori, who ends up getting eliminated this episode, because it's like Ashley already got eliminated, and yet she gets to come back randomly just because there's been so many health concerns. Like, that just doesn't seem fair to me that production can randomly be like, you know what, we're bringing someone back. Especially because this wasn't a case like Edge of Extinction on Survivor, where it's like everyone gets an equal chance to come back. It's just randomly, we want to actually have a girls' elimination, so we're going to bring a girl back so that we can eliminate a different girl. So
Okay, that's really interesting. I feel like when I was watching the episode, I was just more hyped, like, Ashley's back. Like, we like Ashley. She brings good TV. She's a strong competitor and she's a challenge winner. So we like to see that. So I guess it is interesting to hear like that other side. And it does make sense. Like, it is sort of like unfair. Like, oh yeah, Ashley was already eliminated. And I guess TJ's reasoning was that because Natalie eliminated Ashley, Ashley is coming back now. But also, like, Nicole or Liv also wouldn't be able to come back because both of them were medically evacuated. So I guess it is a little bit unfair. I think the challenge stat was like, if this has only happened 6 times in like challenge history in 36 seasons where like an eliminated player was invited back. So yeah, I guess it is technically a little bit unfair.
yeah, and I guess like I get why they did it, just because it is, you could argue that it's equally unfair to the guys that they keep having to like get eliminated every like round just because the girls keep going home. But I don't know. I wish that there would have been some sort of mechanism, like they could vote whether or not they wanted Ashley to come back in or something like that, because they were already pretty clear about the fact that they didn't want Ashley and, was it CT that she was paired with at the beginning?
Yeah.
They wanted them out. So it's like, if you vote someone to come out and then they randomly get to come back in, that's just not cool.
Yeah, I guess it'd be like different or interesting if like a lot of men got randomly or like evacuated or they all had to leave or they quit or something also, then like they brought Wes or someone back in. I feel like people would maybe have more problems with that, but because it was Ashley, people are like, yay, Ashley, which is what I was thinking. So yeah, I do think it is a little bit weird, or like, I guess the most fair thing would have just been to send Corey home, which really sucks that he got reshuffled to Natalie the night before, that like they both would have to go home that next day.
Or just have another guy's elimination. Like,
yeah, I guess so. But then also, like you were saying, it does suck to be the males, because then you are going back to back eliminations versus all the girls never have to go down to see TJ in the crater.
but you also could argue that because of the gold skulls, obviously you want to actually have the chances to go down into the crater. And so it's like maybe part of the reason they did it is also because Natalie was the only girl that has a gold skull, or had one. And so it's like, if none of the girls have gold skulls at the end because they've constantly only been doing guys eliminations, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I guess the main reason for bringing someone back would be to have the numbers even out so they could do a girls' elimination, so that whoever won this upcoming episode's elimination would technically like replace Natalie's gold skull. So then they have 5 total gold skulls back in the game again. Because I guess it would be weird if this episode they went and they did the 4th male elimination. So we have 4 guys with gold skulls, but 0 girls with gold skulls. I think then it'd be sort of weird, because at the end game, are you just going to have like 5 female eliminations back to back? Or they're trying to do this like flip flop back and forth. I think their numbers are just really messed up, because 3 guys have gold skulls and only 1 girl does now.
Yeah, and so maybe they'll do something spicy and have it be like a guy versus girl challenge or something. Like, I'm not sure how they could do that in a way that would be fair, but it would be interesting.
I want to see a partner challenge, and they think it's like, a guy's day or a girl's day. I was about to say girl, like a mixture of guy and girl there, but like where the partners have to fight against each other, and then the partner duo will get their gold skulls or something. Like, more twists, because it does seem like it is going back to male elimination, female, like back to back for the genders now.
Yeah, so I guess we'll kind of have to see, but that was, I think, an interesting choice by production and not one I'm sure I agree with. So
Yeah, I think that's an interesting conversation. You caught on to that. I was like, yay, Ashley. So we go into the Agent Down Daily Challenge. This one, they're on a really, really high platform and they have to pull some rope up. And then once they get their rope all the way up, they can go hold on to their partner. And then if their partner can't hold on and you can't hold on, then your partner drops and then they fall and then you're out of the challenge. So I thought this challenge looks sort of scary. You know, that fall, it was sort of scary looking, but the waterfall in the background was so pretty. But I think with the creation of the challenge, like I liked it. It was fun. It was interesting. It was cool to see everyone's like scared faces and whatnot. But it's just sort of weird that like obviously the guy partner is going to be the rope puller and then the girl partner is going to be the person hanging onto the ledge. I wonder if they had the choice to pick like, oh, which partner does what, or if it was like, okay, girls have to be on the ledge, guys have to pull the rope.
it looked like they were forced to, because I feel like it's unrealistic to me that like every single partnership would choose that, especially if like the girl is stronger. Like Lolo and Nam, I'm not sure that Lolo would choose to be hanging on the edge if she didn't have to be. So
yeah, so I guess like I don't know, that's interesting that if it is forced like to have gender roles like that, I don't know, I would prefer challenges where I guess both people are doing something or like both people are equal participants or something. I don't know, it just sort of odd that one person only has to like hang there, which I guess, you know, you have to have some kind of grip strength, but it seems like the person that is doing most of the work is the person on the platform pulling the rope, and then the person on the platform has to hold the other person up, and that's like the grip strength.
yeah, and I guess I wasn't entirely sure what was up. Like, did they know when TJ was going to be pushing the button? And did TJ know when TJ was going to be pushing the button? Or did he just get to randomly push it? Because
Oh
when
my
he was
gosh.
explaining the challenge, it sounded like he was just allowed to push it whenever. And it sounds to me like if TJ wanted to, he could very strategically decide who, like, got to go home or not. Because if there were teams he didn't like who weren't done pulling the rope, he could just smash that button.
Yo, you have a good analytical mind. I think that was something that I was interested in too, because I was like, okay, if you're in the challenge, if there isn't a set time limit, like TJ pushes it at 3 minutes or whatever, but it's different from heat one and heat two, like, you know that you're probably safe if you're one of the first three people that get your rope up, and then you can like sort of take your time and then go to grab your partner rather than like run over or like start grabbing your partner right away. But I feel like, you know, like obviously TJ is not going to push the button and make 4 out of the 5 people fall. Like you're going to have 3 or 4 out of the 5 people get their rope up, so then their partner is over there ready to hold before TJ pushes the button. So I mean, like, as long as you're not super slow, I think you're fine.
But I feel like that would also be hard because if TJ like randomly pushes the button and it's different between the two heats, that then makes it unfair because the two heats are also competing within each other. So like if TJ pushes the button at 3 minutes in one heat and 4 minutes in the other one, then it's like the first heat have to hold their partner for a whole minute longer, which is unfair if you're comparing the two to each other. So
Yo, okay, yeah. No, look at us being nitpicky, but I agree. I think if they weren't standardized, like that's sort of unfair. And also, I was reading a thing where like Jay was in the first heat, Jay won the first heat, but going into the second heat with CT and Big T, who were the last 2 people standing in their heat in heat 2, they told CT like, oh, you only need to hold on for X amount of time longer in order to beat Jay's time, which is totally unfair because if Jay knew like CT's time, if CT was in the first heat, Jay could have held on longer also. So it seems sort of like unfair that they told CT like, oh, hold on 5 more seconds so we can have this big TV moment of like, the times are only 5 seconds apart or whatnot. But like, I don't know, telling the second heat the first heat's times, it's like, what? Then you can just like held on, but like maybe Jay could have held on longer since he didn't have anything to compare his time to.
yeah, and it just seemed unfair that the second heat got to watch the first heat, because it's like in other competitions when they've done multiple heats, I feel like they don't get to watch each other. So yeah.
I guess Lots of
That
flaws
just annoyed
with
me.
this. Yeah, I think many flaws, I guess, talking it out with you now. I feel like while watching, I was like, this is so much fun, not realizing there's so many different variables. And I think, yeah, especially telling CTJ's time is sort of very unfair. But I thought the challenge was cute, especially cute seeing Big T and CT like root each other on, and like CT or Big T's mean face was literally the cutest thing ever. It's like roar, and I was like, oh my god, that is so precious.
Yeah, I feel like I really like them as a team because they're really cute together, like as a team and as friends, and we need that.
Yeah, so Big T and CT win, and they want to put up Aneesa up against Tori because they are friends. So we go into the bar scene, and so it seems like the house wants to vote for Aneesa, or Big T is saying that it's probably easier to get the house to vote for Aneesa because they don't think that they can get the numbers for Tori. And I thought that was super smart. We see Big T talking with Tori. I thought Big T was handling this conversation so well, especially because Big T already knew that she sort of wanted to put Tori in. She was asking Tori, what do you want? Tori says that she wants to go in against someone that she can beat, like Amber M. And straight after this, Tori goes up to Aneesa and says, like, CT did all the work in the challenge, like Big T, like, even though I said, oh my gosh, you're so strong or whatever, like CT was the person doing all the work. And I was like, LOL, like that sort of is such a bad look.
Yeah, Tori just came off like very bitchy this whole time because it's like when the house goes to discuss like who should be eliminated, she's basically like, I don't have to respect you until you prove that you're worthy of respect. And it's just like, that's not a good look, sis. Just...
Yeah. Especially in a confessional, she says that again, that she wants to go in against the rookie, but not Lolo. And so I feel like, you can say that in a confessional, I think, because it's private, like that's more like better or more acceptable or whatever. But I think you're rubbing the people the wrong way by saying it out loud in like two people's faces and like in front of other people. So I just think, yeah, not a good look, especially because in the deliberation, I was just sort of confused because like, I feel like Tori and Aneesa can sort of tell that the tides are not going their way, and one of them or both of them are going to get thrown into the elimination. So it just seems like weird that they would keep talking and like not just be quiet or try to throw the target on someone else, because
or even like, just be like, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Because then if like maybe you get someone who's like, okay, she apologized, let's see if we can find another plan. But they kind of just kept digging their own grave.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, it's a little bit cocky, but like, Tori has shown that she's a strong competitor. Like she is really good at challenges and she's not like a weak person. And so I guess I see where she's coming from, where she wants to say like rookies have to earn your stripes, but also like, I don't know. I feel like the whole mentality around the rookies this season at least is changing a little bit. And it's different from other seasons where a lot of people were on board saying that rookies need to earn their stripes before we respect them. So I feel like if you see that the like room is not going your way, people are sort of getting rubbed the wrong way by you saying that rookies don't deserve respect. Like, sure, it might be okay on other seasons, but once you realize that it's not working, I think like it's sort of like embarrassing that you keep saying it and you keep talking yourself up. And I feel like it would have been funny if Tori went into an elimination and then lost to a rookie, because I feel like last season, Tori wanted to go in against Jenna, who everyone thought was like sort of checked out because of her relationship drama at home. And then Tori lost to Jenna. So it's sort of like, why are you spitting these things that like it's going to be embarrassing if they don't turn out your way?
Yeah, and I mean, I think we kind of saw that because Natalie was the one who eliminated Ashley, and it's like a rookie eliminated a challenge champion. And y'all should realize that means that rookies aren't just like... I don't understand the assumption that every rookie is weak. Like, I don't get that. So
yeah, I think it's just like the stature thing again, because like Tori said, she doesn't want to go up against Lolo. She probably won't want to go up against Natalie or someone. So it's really just like, oh, the skinnier, shorter people, which, I guess two things you can't really control if like you can't control your weight, So I don't know. I really liked how Gabby at the start of the deliberation spoke up and she was like, why is this big girls versus small girls? So I was like, okay, good for her speaking up. I'm glad that the rookies this season aren't letting themselves just be walked all over, but they're actually like trying to fight back against the status quo.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot more interesting of a season. And I especially like that there are some vets who are willing to work with the rookies, because I feel like Big T is a vet and CT is a vet, obviously. And so I guess it's nice to see that they're like willing to work with the rookies and get something done that's like a little bit unconventional, because I feel like maybe the rookies wouldn't have been able to get this done without Big T and CT, but it was something that I think is going to make this season a lot more interesting.
So. Yeah, it's not just the status quo, which is always fun. We love to see the underdogs like be doing well in the challenge. So after the deliberation in the little hut, we see Big T and CT chat. Their plan worked, and Leroy and Aneesa were compromised, and it looks like that the house voted their way. And we see that CT also made a little like side plan with Lolo, saying if Lolo wants to go in, we will throw Lolo in. But if Lolo sees the challenge and she says no, then we'll go plan B and throw Tori in. And I thought that was really smart because, you know, as a pair of CT and Big T, you are making favors, you're making friends, you're trying to make alliances. Like, I'll scratch your back right now, you'll scratch my back later. So I think even though Lolo didn't want to go into the elimination, I think it's smart to say that you'll give it to someone and then they get the choice. And so I think now Lolo maybe sort of owes Big T and CT something, but like she didn't want to go in. But I think they have like a little more friendship there because this like thing was offered.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool to see people building new alliances rather than just like relying on old alliances and people they've already known for forever. Because I feel like a lot of the challenge thus far has been people being like, oh, the Big Brother alliance, oh, the like Vets alliance. So new alliances are cool because it helps you like see new sides of people and stuff. So
100%. So we go into the crater and we see that it is going to be a best friend showdown between Tori and Aneesa. And so Devin had a confessional saying that they set themselves up. This is karma. And I 100% agree with that. And they had so many confessionals like, oh my God, this is our worst nightmare going against my best friend. Then I feel like if you have a BFF in the house, you shouldn't show everyone else how close you are to your BFF because like we saw this season, you know, Wes and Devin got thrown in against each other. They're throwing all of the BFFs in against each other. So like, why wouldn't you go in and pretend that you weren't friends or like play down your relationship, even though like, oh yeah, we've been on seasons before. We hang out in our free time when the off season is happening. You could pretend and be like, yeah, you know, I actually don't like them that much. We had a falling out. Like they kicked my brother or something. Like I don't like them anymore. So then you don't get thrown in against your best friend because obviously the best way to get rid of someone you don't like is to throw them against their friend. So at least you're getting rid of one person in that alliance.
Yeah, it's like because of the way the challenge works, it just makes sense to put two strong people up against each other because either way you have a threat gone. And that's kind of what they did the first episode when they thought it was going to be a guy's elimination and they put Wes up against CT. But
should have faked it. So we go into the challenge. It's called Asset Destruction. You have to pull a rope to knock your crate over to get these heavy balls, and then you throw the balls over to break your squares, and you need to find all 13 squares. TJ said that in a way more convoluted manner with like bombs and like whatever other words that he used to describe these balls. And I was like, yo, you're literally just throwing the balls at the targets. It's so much easier to say that. But you know, like I said, props to their writing team because they find so many weird words to describe layman's objects.
Yeah, that was just wild. This challenge also, like, kind of confused me because it seemed like they didn't, or they did know which ones were solid and not. Like, Aneesa got, like, 4 through before she found her first that bounced. So I thought that was interesting. But
yeah, maybe it could have been like editing also because some of the people were screaming like, you know, like try it just in the row, like, okay, now third over, now fourth over, which would have been the smart way, like just throw it in a grid pattern so then you're not going to throw your ball at the same square twice. So maybe it was editing, but yeah, I think I don't know. Tori just struggled so hard on trying to knock the crate over, but like Aneesa supposedly got it in one try. Maybe she took a while also, and it was editing that it was the first try she got it. But like Aneesa had momentum on the cart, so then the cart fell over easier. And then Tori realized that you needed momentum, but like already after Aneesa had 10 of the squares blocked out.
Yeah, I felt kind of bad for Tori, but also it was kind of comeuppance because she was talking about how everyone else is like weak or whatever, and then she couldn't even like get that done. So
yeah, it's sort of bad attitude also. Karma, like she was screaming like, oh my gosh, it won't budge, like saying F the challenge, like this challenge kind of thing. So it's sort of like, I mean, I guess, you know, it's like the pressure of the challenge, but I feel like same with last season when she was losing to Jenna, she just sort of like freaks out when the challenge isn't going her way and then sort of like acts out, I guess.
Yeah, it's like she assumes that she knows everything and is going to win at everything. And it's like, Tori, you should know that's not true. So
yeah, so just a little bit cocky and she needs to like tone that down. But because like, you know, she is a really good competitor and she has won a lot of stuff, but also now technically her elimination record is 3-3 and 4-3 if you count like another elimination in there. So technically she has a losing record right now. So, you know, maybe next season she's got to come back and be more low-key, be more humble, and I think that would be good for her. But Aneesa wins this challenge, which I thought was sort of funny because a lot of people call Aneesa a layup. And so if Aneesa beats you, Tori, then like, does that also make you a layup if people think Aneesa is weak?
Yeah, but I don't think that Tori is really great at the whole self-reflection thing, given like everything that we've seen about her. So
yeah. I mean, I just think like this season, not a good look for Tori. I think, you know, Tori's prior seasons, better look for her. I think just this one, editing or like her attitude or whatever, just not a good look.
Yeah, not a good look at all. And so I guess I was glad to see Tori going home. And I was also really glad that Aneesa decided to choose Fessy as her partner again, because I was just like, whew, Fessy deserves that comeuppance of like trying to ditch Aneesa and then being put right back with her. Especially because I felt bad for Casey for being put with Fessy after he royally screwed up. So
yeah. It was so funny, like first like Tori going and like karma for that, and then also Aneesa is like a big F you to Fessy and chooses him to be her partner again, just like it's a reset of last week because everyone went back to their original partners. And it was just so funny because Fessy left her last week, and then in the challenge that was happening, this elimination challenge, he has a confessional saying like he hopes Aneesa loses because he just has some kind of connection with Tori that they can just look at each other and know what each other is saying. And I'm like, dang, you really brought him back to be your partner after he is saying all this mad crap about you. And just so funny that like he wanted to leave, but that Aneesa took him back.
I think it's gonna be kind of like a punishment almost. Like I hope that it's a punishment. Like she's gonna be like, oh, so now, you know?
Like, yeah, I feel like maybe she picked him like drama aside with everything because Fessy is a good competitor, but also like we saw in this challenge, Casey had a confessional saying like, you know, Fessy didn't show up in this challenge. They were like first or second out of the daily challenge. So Casey was saying maybe Fessy isn't as strong as or maybe it was Cam. Someone was saying that maybe Fessy isn't as strong as we thought he was kind of thing. So maybe Aneesa picked Fessy so that they could win the daily challenges together. But then that just means that Fessy is not up for elimination and he's not going to throw himself in again because he has his gold skull already. But maybe he would if it's another hall brawl.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I just think it's cool that like the stuff that happened actually had consequences, because I feel like sometimes people talk mad shit on the challenge and then they like don't actually follow through. So yeah.
So Devin becomes a rogue agent, and so this was literally what he said at the start of the episode anyway, so he got what he wanted. And I thought this was interesting because I'm not sure if this is a good strategy, but also because Devin has his skull already, by being a rogue agent, you can't get thrown in again next week. And so next week will probably be a male's elimination. And so now, because Devin is a rogue agent, he's safe. And so maybe that's a smart play, because he already has his skull, that like he can't get thrown in and have his skull stolen from him. So like, I wonder if he's thinking that, or if he's just like, I hate Tori, I don't want to be her partner, so like I'm glad that she's gone. Or if he actually wanted to be a rogue agent so that like he's safe for a week, I guess.
I think it's like a little bit of both. So, and I guess also Devin didn't really say who he would want to be his partner if he did like get the chance to choose a new partner, which makes me think that maybe he did really want to be a rogue agent and not just partnered with someone different. So
yeah, I'm sort of like, who else are his friends on the season that are like girls that he would partner up with, that isn't like a more random pairing, because I feel like a lot of his friends are the dudes on the season. But yeah, I think very interesting. You know, Fessy in the after show on the Challenge YouTube channel, he is like making out with Ashley, and then he basically says like, oh, I must have like, that didn't happen, or like Ashley's not my type, so like she had some magic charm power over me to like get me to kiss her. And I was like, SMH, like what is going on through your head to say something like that?
Yeah, I guess I don't like the personal drama as much, especially because the game drama like is stepping up. So I just roll my eyes.
Yep, so we still haven't seen the Gabby and Fessy makeout yet. So now that Tori is gone, Fessy is, I guess, gonna hook up with the other girls.
Which is weird, because it seems like the other girls still don't like him. So I'll be interested to see when that happens, or if like next week everyone just has already forgiven him.
Yep. So this was a good episode of the challenge. I really enjoyed it. I really like to see all of the strategy that we saw this episode, and the pairings and everything, and seeing some of the unfamiliar faces this season. And so I'm excited for next week. One fun thing to look forward to during the week is watching the challenge. So that's always exciting.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Let us know in the comments down below what you guys thought of this episode. Was it your favorite episode of the season so far, or has there been another episode that you guys liked better? We always love to hear from you and get your opinions, and we're excited to